Hello, this is Max Thompson, and this is another devlog video for my final endgame project called Cadenza. This is going to be the final devlog video that I do, as the game is fully complete to the extent that I wanted it to be. There's still things that can be added and such, but they're very, very minor things. But overall, the game is fully playable. Um, and yeah, I'm very happy with how it's turned out now. And it's at a stage where I can give you a full sort of walkthrough and show off how the game will actually look when you play it yourself, if you do. So in the last devlog video, I showed off the character models that had been added, along with the skeletons, and then also the destruction setup for the environmental props like tables and chairs and such. Since then, there's been a few more things added. So all the levels have now been updated to include the destructible versions of the assets, and also there has been a little title screen that's been added, which I'll show you in a moment when I give the little walkthrough. So all these dudes will just be walking. I can give you a little sneak peek. So yeah, basically what happens is, I'll show you in a minute actually, but they just walk back and forth to emulate the idea of pedestrians walking on a sidewalk, to make it look like the front of the office. But in terms of the lobby, I've also added in the score counter. So this will be a case of when you complete a run, or when you die, you load back into the lobby, and then you can see your best score. So if you do multiple runs, you can see what your best score was, see if you beat it or not, the best level that you reached, and also the highest combo that you reached throughout all of your runs. So this updates, so like I say, if you do multiple runs, it'll update accordingly. So it will show the best score across all of your runs so far, best level reached across all of them, and then the best combo as well. And yeah, in terms of other stuff that's been added before I do a little run through, the player attacks have been updated quite a bit since you would have last seen them. So the first thing as well is the colours have been finalised for all three amp types. So the rock amp is going for like a neon green style. The Lance acid style has more of like an orange colour scheme, and then the lo-fi amp has got a blue colour scheme. And you'll see when I show off as well, the aux cable that I've got connected will use the same colours as well, so it will sort of glow. And then the weapon models as well have been included, which I'll show off in a moment as well. But in terms of the player attack animations, I'm just going to quickly show these off for you. I've lost myself. Here we are. What do I need to do from here? So all the montages. What was that? So all the montages initially just had the motion warping, notify state, and then the combo and notify state, and then the hit detection notify state as well. So we've also added some footsteps that Kirk's added, and the sword swing as well that he's added. So these sword swing noises were made by Kirk. So there's a multitude of ones. Basically, it filters through a set, so you never get the same one twice, which is really good. And I've added in a little weapon trail, as you can see there. And the colour will correspond to the equipped amp, so it'll be green, orange, or blue accordingly. Which I think is pretty neat and adds an little extra flair to the attacks, because otherwise all you were seeing was just the swing and then just an explosion on hit, which was okay, but just a little extra flair. Now with the weapon mesh models as well, it makes it just look a lot nicer. But in terms of other stuff that's been added, the boss fight has been now fully included, and I'll go through that once I actually show off the little gameplay bit in a second. But what I am going to quickly do is I am just going to quickly lower the volume just so you can hear me narrate as I go through the levels. But I think it's easiest if I show off some actual gameplay as opposed to just yapping. So let's load in. So this will be the first thing that's been added, a little loading screen that Kirk made, and basically it's just added every time you load into the level. So we've got the main sort of title screen with some backing track that Kirk also made, and you hear some more sounds that have been added. And here is the player. Another thing as well I forgot to mention is the UI has been added. So you can see in the middle here, we've got the level counter, you've got your player health, and then you've got your current score. There's two more things that appear as the gameplay progresses, but I'll detail them as they appear. It'll basically be like a combo counter, and then when you've got your special attack ready. So if we go through, there's also been some updates to the sounds for the destruction. So you can see there's got some nice new destruction sounds which are pretty nice. And it randomizes, I believe, on the larger table, which is pretty good. And also when you go into the elevator now, you've got the nice elevator music that Kirk made playing, and that also changes dependent on which amp you've got equipped. Speaking of, here we have 3 amps in the break room. So we've got the rock one with the mesh, the mace mesh, sorry, and you can see there, like I mentioned, the little aux cable is glowing now, which is really cool. And then we'll have the lance, or glaive lance, for the orange aesthetic, and then we've got the lo-fi little sword, which is pretty cool. All these weapon models were made by Tom, which was previously mentioned, and they all are pretty nice. So I'm gonna use the glaive and the rock. There's also an exit sign now on all of the levels ending elevators, just to indicate when you can actually leave the level, because I've set it so that you can either kill all the enemies and then leave the level, but you don't have to. So the minimum is 5 enemies per floor to progress to the next one. So if you want to get the highest score possible, you make sure you kill all the enemies on the level before progressing. Otherwise, if you want to do like a speed run, get the highest level possible in like a certain time, you can just do that. So let's go through. Kirk's also updated it now so that the different music that he created actually loads in correctly, which is very nice. I also added a attack indicator sort of little icon now. It was there originally in the previous builds, but it was just like a white square. So now you can actually see what it looks like in game. And then, like I mentioned, you can see the combo counter and the KO ready. Forgot to mention as well, the enemy attack indicator also faces towards the player, so whatever orientation you are compared to the enemy, it will always face towards the camera, so you're never not going to be able to see it. I still need to get better at this game, to be honest. Even though you play a lot, and it's just the dodging can be quite fiddly if there's a lot of dudes around you. But you can see there, the light is now green, so I can actually go ahead and kill some more dudes. Switch to the rock amp, just so you can hear this level. These tracks also change depending on what level number you're on. So I believe that Kirk's randomized it, which is quite nice. So here's another track for the rock one. And we're in the food hall. Also as well, the health counter, score counter update in terms of like scale and colour when they increase or decrease respectively. So the health and the score, when they increase, it's green. And you can see that the health goes down, it goes red. The combo counter also resets if you take damage, so you really want to make sure that you're avoiding taking hits to increase your combo. That can potentially cause problems if you're low on health and you're not too like well tuned into how the game works. But with it being 5 hits per KO ready, it's pretty simple just to get some health back for a little combo. So we've got the DreamHack level again. So all this destruction. This is the, I would say worst level, but possibly worst level in terms of performance with the destruction, as all of these desk dividers are destructible, as well as all the desks. There was an initial problem with some of the enemies, how they were spawning, where they were just spawning on the tables, breaking everything instantly, and just like crashing for some reason. So I've changed the spawning and how it works, so it's a randomized area within a certain radius, but it'll make sure that there's no collision before they spawn. What was another thing I was going to say just then as well? Oh yes, the lighting. All the levels' lighting has to be updated, just for like performance sort of reasons. So there's now one individual light throughout the entire level, which is locked to the player. Which makes more sense for me. Also as well, with how the shader that I'm using works, you can't really do like distance fog very well. So the idea of just having no lights in that area makes it give the impression that it's darker because it's further away. And the light above you helps draw attention towards yourself. But you can still see people within a distance. I'm just going to power through these levels just so I can show you the boss level as well. Another thing that's been updated, this is Trinity. For some reason, this is the worst level for performance. I've been trying to figure out why, but it could just be the pathing, because it's double layered. That could be causing the issue, but I still haven't been able to figure out why. It was a lot worse because of the floor material that I was using. It was really reflective, and it just wasn't enjoying it. But I've changed that, and it's helped a bit. But it's like at lowest 30 FPS, which is still playable. It's just a bit annoying, to be honest. But it's probably just the type of assets that are being used. But now we move on to the boss level. So the boss level appears every 5 levels. So once you've cleared 5 levels, it will then go on to the boss level. Here is the boss's receptionist. Let's just beat him up just for the sake of it. You also got the chance of re-equipping some amps before you go in. I'm actually going to switch to the lo-fi. So with the boss level as well, to actually progress into it, you have to wait for the boss to be ready for you, much like the majority of senior management. You can't just see them straight away. They've got to make, you've got to make time for them, and they are very busy. So you can see here he's got a little intro, and then he's got some nice attacks. He also does more damage than the normal enemies. So he does 20 in the standard, whereas the normal enemies do 10 damage per hit. But the damage also scales after each boss fight, just to give that sort of progression aspect, because otherwise you'll just be repeating the same game over and over with the same damage. There's no sort of increase in difficulty. There is a little annoying bug, which you are seeing at the moment, where if you hit him too fast, he just stops attacking you for some reason. I'm not too sure why. It could just be the code difference between him and the normal enemies. He doesn't have to play a hit reaction for some reason, so it could be because of that. But it's a bug that I'm not too worried about because it's very like occasional that it occurs. Like I've only seen it happen with the lo-fi, but you can still hear like you're saying like he's over there. He's still trying to attack you. So it's just a little bug that can be figured out. But yeah, now that the boss has been defeated, the enemies will deal more damage, and then the next boss fight will also deal more damage. So if I let him hit me, so it now does 15 damage per attack. So every boss fight that you go through, their damage will increase by 5 points. So not too difficult, but after a while, you can get full hit just by the normal dudes, and then the boss's damage also increments as well. So let me just show off Old Boy, which is the name of this level. Try not to actually die. In terms of the actual game itself, I'm really happy with how it is now. Like everything's working as I want it to be. The blood splatters, or sorry, the oil splatters, as I should probably call it. The attack combos and all the UI updating, all the level transferring of variables is working really smoothly, which I'm really happy with, because that was a main concern of mine. I initially suspected it'd be pretty simple to do, but after looking into it with how I wanted to spawn the amps now I needed to transfer them, it was going to be a lot more difficult than I initially imagined. But once I figured out how I wanted to do it and how it works now, I'm very happy with the overall turnout. In terms of how it actually works with the amp transfer, when you spawn into level, it checks what amp you had equipped in the previous level, as well as which one you had holstered, and then spawns them in and equips it during the load screen. So you can hear that when it does a view, that's you equipping an amp. And you can hear the change in music. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna let these guys kill me, just so I can show off how the lobby looks. Come on, lads. Look at that. And I'm dead. And there we go. So you load back into the lobby now. That's an annoying thing where it just doesn't reappear the cursor, but I'm fine with that for now. And then you can see the scoreboard's updated. So my best score for that run was 440. My best level was level 8, and my highest combo achieved throughout that run was 22, which is pretty good. But yeah, overall, with how the game is playing, how the progression works, I'm very happy with it. Obviously there's other stuff that I wanted to get added, but in terms of with the time available and the actual sort of scope creep, I realised certain things couldn't really be added. So like the upgrading of the amps, we initially wanted that to be included, but with how much we had to get added and the issues that we were running into, we just realised that we wouldn't have time to implement it. But with its current build, there's no real need to upgrade the amps, because a full combo, depending on which attacks you move, can kill like 2 to 3 dudes in one go. But that's like a very later on thing, like a post hand-in sort of development, sort of adding extra stuff like that. And like with the enemy types as well, we wanted to add 2 more enemy types, like you would have seen from the concept art by Marta. But same sort of thing, we didn't have time to model them and then sort out their attack styles and stuff. And we wanted that time more to focus on the issues that we're having at the base level and just making sure it was all working correctly to a sort of base framework, which it is, and which I'm very happy with. But yeah, overall, like I mentioned, very happy with how this project's turned out, very happy with everyone's contributions. I feel like everyone in the group's really happy with how it's turned out in the end. And yeah, the idea is to hopefully get this put out on itch just a little page just so people can download it and play through it if they want to. If that's the case, there will be a link to it in the description of this video, and there'll also be a link to it in the little write-up stuff that I'm going to be doing. But yeah, it's all there. I'm very happy with everything, how that's all working, and it all coming together. All the Fmod stuff by Kirk, the models by Tom, the artwork by Marta, and the blueprint work by myself. It's all gone very nice and well together. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for following along with the process of making this game and this proof of concept for making a sort of rhythmic violence game, which I believe that we have somewhat successfully created. As with all games, there's always room for improvement that we're aware of, but like I mentioned, time creep and like sort of overall project scope, there's stuff that had to be like scaled back or just put on the back burner for now. But as I potentially do more and more development in the future, more and more stuff can be added, and then we can go from there. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, I hope you enjoy Cadenza.